presidential campaign going on. And in the heat of it all, it's good to remind ourselves of the basic humanity of candidates and politicians, public officials who, even under great stress, manage to have friends and family and be in love and enjoy some grace and beauty in life. Jacqueline Kennedy wrote, "I separate politics from my private life. Maybe that's why I treasure my life at home so much. In this business, there's always going to be flare-ups about something, and you must somehow get so it doesn't upset you. When you get written about a lot, you just think of it as a little cartoon that runs along at the bottom of your life, but one that doesn't have much to do with your life." Michelle Robinson met Barack Obama when they were starting out at the law firm of Sidley and Austin in Chicago. She was a Harvard Law grad. He was a first-year law student, hired for the summer. She was assigned to be his mentor. So she said no when he asked her out. She just thought it would be tacky. But finally, she agreed to go to the Art Institute and have lunch and a movie and a drink on the 99th floor of the John Hancock building. And 2 years later, he asked her to marry him. Mr. Obama said later, "Had I not been a Stevie Wonder fan, Michelle might not have dated me. We might not have married." So she chose this song for their wedding.
Well, in my mind, we can conquer the world. In love, you and I, you and I.
This is a minuet that George Washington danced with a widow named Martha Custis in the spring of 1758, a minuet called the 11th of September. They were taken with each other immediately. She was 27, she was bright and talkative, she was the mother of 2 children, she was attractive, she was a very good dancer, and she was very, very wealthy. And they were married the following January. Abigail Adams and her husband John were very deeply in love and wrote to each other almost daily when they were apart. She got a letter from him from Philadelphia in 1774. She was at Boston. The Continental Congress was meeting. John Adams wrote, "I am wearied to death with the life I lead. The business of the Congress is tedious beyond expression." And a week later, she wrote back to him, "I dare not express to you at 300 miles distance how ardently I long for your return." When he was away, her children liked to sing to her an old Scottish song with the refrain, "There's no luck about the house when my good man's away."
For there's no luck about the house, there's no luck at all. There's little pleasure in the house when my good man's away.
Thomas Jefferson was 26 when he fell in love with a 20-year-old widow named Martha Skelton, who was tall and graceful. She had auburn hair and many suitors. In fact, 2 of them were calling on her. One day in the summer of 1771, she was at her father's house, and they heard music coming from the drawing room, and they looked in, and Jefferson was playing a violin, and Martha Skelton the harpsichord. They were playing this tune. They were married the following New Year's Day. Martha Jefferson died in 1782, 10 years after they got married. And after she died, Jefferson destroyed their correspondence. He could never bring himself to talk about her, and he never remarried. James and Dolly Madison were in the White House from 1809 to 1817. He was short, sort of dour. She was in love with him nonetheless, and she bought a piano for the White House, held dinner parties with dancing afterward, at a time when the minuet and the cotillion were going out of style and the waltz was coming in. And this piece was written for her. I'm sure they danced to it, called Mrs. Madison's Waltz from 1812. The phonograph came to the White House during the Taft administration, William Howard Taft, who loved to go to the opera, liked to go into his sitting room and put on a recording of his favorite aria from La Bohème and sit down in his leather lounge chair and close his eyes and listen to it.
Che gelida manina se la lasci riscaldar, cercar che giova al buio non si trova. Ma per fortuna in una notte di luna e qui la luna l'abbiamo vicina.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I didn't mean to butt in. Woodrow Wilson sang tenor in college and glee clubs. Loved to sing all of his life. One of his favorite songs, which he sang at White House musicales, was this one. Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. Or leave a kiss but in the cup, and I'll not ask for wine. He was courting Edith Galt as thousands of demonstrators stood outside the White House begging him not to get the country into World War I. And he wrote to Edith, my sweet darling, a day when I neither see you nor get a message from you is blank on the calendar. When Henry Truman courted Bess Wallace in Independence, Missouri, he knew that her mother did not approve of him and thought that he would never amount to anything, never be any more than just a dirt farmer. And to impress his prospective mother-in-law, Harry Truman came to the Wallace house and he played the piano, and one tune that he often played was Anton Rubinstein's Melody in F. Harry Truman wrote to Bess in 1911, I never was fool enough to think that a girl like you could ever care for a fellow like me, but I couldn't help telling you how I felt, even if I didn't get to say another word to you. Just remember how crazy I am about you and forget all the rest. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Bouvier were married in September 1953 in Newport. She wanted a small, simple wedding, but he was a U.S. Senator, and over 1,000 invitations were sent out. And after the ceremony, 1,200 guests sat down to supper of creamed chicken on the lawn of her stepfather's farm. And after supper, the bride and groom danced to the tune, I married an angel. Richard Nixon was a young attorney in Los Angeles when he started dating a schoolteacher named Pat Ryan. And 2 years after the day they met, he wrote to her, "Dearest heart, as I look out the windows at the clouds with the sun trying to break through, I'm thinking of how much you've meant to me the past 2 years. I get the same thrill when I'm with you that I did when I first took you for a ride in my car. Nothing so fine ever happened to me as falling in love with thee, my dearest heart." Richard Nixon liked to play this song for her at the piano, and even late in his life, when he could hardly play anything else, he could still play My Wild Irish Rose. Ronald and Nancy Reagan were never comfortable without the other one nearby. And long before Washington, way back in 1955, when he was far away on their anniversary, he wrote to her, "My darling, here it is, our day. And if we were home, we'd have a fire and hate anyone who called or dropped in. As it is, I'm sitting here looking out at a gray, wet sky. Nevertheless, with all the missing you there is, still such a wonderful warmth in the loneliness, like looking forward to a bright, warm room. No matter how dark and cold it is at the moment, you know the room is there and waiting. I love you so very much. I don't even mind that life made me wait so long to find you. The waiting only made the finding sweeter." This is a song that Nancy Reagan sang to him, including once at a musicale in the East Room of the White House. Sarah Vaughan was there in Manhattan Transfer, and Mrs. Reagan took the microphone and she looked down at the president and she sang this old song by George and Ira Gershwin.
But oh my dear, our love is here to stay. Together we're going a long, long way. In time the Rockies may crumble, Gibraltar may tumble, they're only made of clay, but our love is here to stay.
Presidents in Love.